So many people are doing work on marine protected areas in the country, and they have followed our example. And so there are now probably 1,500 marine protected areas in the country.
The first main objective of establishing this marine sanctuary is just to reproduce more fish for fishermen. Tourism is not part of the objectives of establishing this thing, but it just right on. So why not?
We need visitors and we need guests to provide the livelihood, to keep the economy going so that these values can be received by the community and all the people in the industry. Everyone should be involved.
The idea for the Grid Expedition series actually started from a question. What would it be like for us to travel with experts in their field? We have been lucky enough to have 2 economists and one of the leading marine biologists in the country guide us through this journey, and that's really what they're doing. They're guiding us through the waters of Dumaguete, Sumilon, Apo, and Siquijor. They're introducing us to the communities that they themselves are claiming are so important to marine conservation.
We're boarding here at Siliman Beach. This is our dive boat. We're loading up. I'll be giving a briefing on the dive boat, exactly what we'll be doing.
One of the roles that I have in this expedition is to guide the team through this area where a lot of marine conservation efforts have happened, especially the ones directed towards coral reefs, to give some perspectives about the history of the science that has gone into proving or disproving whether these efforts have worked. These protected areas can actually help each other through the dispersal of the babies that the fish produce.
I started the first marine protected area on the island of Sumilon, which is part of Cebu Island, and did experiments for 10 years.
Right, so buddy teams will be me and Paco, Carmen, Rene, Tina, and Mary, alright?
Protection through marine reserve, what we call the no-take marine reserve, meaning that the marine reserve is off limits to fishing. And so that reserve really builds up the biomass of fish. And this biomass of fish actually moves out of the protected area and goes to the fishing sites of fishermen, thus increasing their fish catch.
This marine protected area plays a significant role in the history of marine conservation in this region. It was established in 1974 and was protected from fishing for almost 10 years. Unfortunately, in the early 80s, protection failed, and all of that buildup of biomass went down in a matter of weeks to months. That decline was due to intensive fishing. So fishers were again allowed to fish inside the protected area, but also intensively outside. And that really drove everything down, abundance, biomass, species diversity. The lesson that was learned there was even a decade of protection, all of that buildup can be lost within a very short time frame. Back in their time in the 80s, they always suspected that the fish population that recovered inside these MPAs can actually benefit other areas through larval dispersal. But they didn't have the tools to prove that. They didn't have the tools. It wasn't yet the age of DNA analysis. Finally, there's incontrovertible proof. Recently, we published a paper validating that these protected areas can actually help each other through the dispersal of the babies that the fish produce. Sumilon, it's an uninhabited island. Nobody lives here. So there was no local community to look after the marine protected area. If you want to sustain marine protection in this country, you need the support of a local community. Examples of marine protected areas that came later were supported by local communities, and that's probably why the later examples were quite successful.
Ako po si Mario Pascobilio. I was born here. I grown up here, and I started fishing here when I was 8 years old. If you're a fisherman, your objective is just to catch fish. But when I start scuba diving, when I was 20 years old, that changed a little bit my mind. Instead of collecting the fish, I want to keep the fish there to see tomorrow. It brings my mind closer to the sea, to the reef, and to the underwater life, which I don't feel that during the early days when I was a fisherman. When Dr. Alcala introduced this in the late 70s, we started establishing that marine sanctuary in the south side of the island. There was a lot of resistance. Sanctuary concept is you are not allowed to fish. It's a no-take zone that you are not allowed to collect anything inside the marine reserve. And what the people perception during the time, their fish catch will deplete. And in fact, it was already depleted, and we almost don't get anything during those days. It takes time for the fishermen to understand. A sanctuary program, you cannot see the benefits for the next three years. It took at least 5 years. You can see the benefits inside the marine reserve.
In 1982, we protected Apo Island. We worked with the community in Apo, and they were the ones that were convinced after 2 years. When you say it was not easy, we just initiated the protection scheme, the marine reserve, and advised them. But they themselves protected the reef. That's the difference between Apo and Sumilon.
So, ang akong nahinumduman gayod ni ang istorya gyud ni Dr. Alcala nga kamurang taga-Apo ang mabulahan ining marine sanctuary. So kung inyong higugmaon ang maong project, dili gyud ni maguba.
I've seen many changes in the past 20 years. For the future of Apo Island, I have a very positive outlook. Actually, mainly it's because I believe in the community. One of the main reasons why this is a successful sanctuary is because there's a community here, and the community is involved, and the community receives benefits from it. They realize the value of protecting these areas.
And when Apo Island case was seen by the people first here, and that is why people like 100% now support the project, because they feel the benefits directly on their hand when they go fishing. And when these neighboring communities, neighboring villages and fishing communities seen and heard the result of Apo Island, it's not hard for them to introduce, because they already heard that Apo case is doing well. Tourism here just started in like in the middle of 90s. Yeah, there was few tourists that will come in the early 90s, and it booms like early 2000, and slowly getting more and more. There was not much tourists during the time, but I can see already the future, that if we will not regulate, eventually there might be some negative impact to the resources underwater.
Apo is a tourist spot. Now that tourist spot is positive and negative at the same time. Too much disturbance of the coral environment will be negative. And I'm warning them already. I have warned them already a long time ago that they should control the number of people there. Because if there are too many people stepping on corals and destroying them, fish will not be happy about it, because you destroy their habitats. See, and you destroy their source of food.
We are working for 30 years to keep this place, and there's a lot of time, efforts, and even money probably that was involved. Because if you will not respect, for example, the turtle that we are here now, if you don't respect them, you are not respecting the people that are living here. So, and you are not respecting yourself as well, because you are selfish. You are just enjoying today, and you are not keeping the things that to be seen to your children tomorrow. So we need to work each other. We need to work as a Filipino. We help each other. Nature will provide anything you want, but we need to respect nature first, in order for nature to share what they can give to us. So that is the simple thing that I ask you.
We believe that people is actually the cause of the problem in marine conservation. So we believe also that people is actually the solution of the problem in marine conservation. And what we need here is really a change in behavior.
Years old pa lang yung MPA namin. At first talaga merong struggle. Hindi na mawawala yon. May community resistance. That was the time na talagang ang grabe ng resistance ng mga tao. Kasi first MPA yon na in-introduce ng city. At parang ang dating ng fisher folks, amin to eh. Ba't i-deprive sa amin? Ba't kukunin sa amin? So, ang nangyari, nang mag-conduct sila ng public hearing, tinapon silang ng mabahong itlog at saka bato. Yung mga plastic na merong laman na tubig.
Kami po ang members sa monitoring team. Din kami mo nag-monitor din sa among marine sanctuary. Then, akong makatak og short na brief sa history sa Tandayag Marine Sanctuary.
RARE is a behavior change organization. RARE is a bit different to other non-government organizations working in marine conservation because of the social marketing aspect. Social marketing is a strategy in RARE that changes the behavior of our target audience using different kind of social marketing materials. We have well-designed posters, well-designed stickers, we have billboards. All these things are actually developed and tailored to changing a particular behavior of the fishers.
Ito kasi, yung isip nila, pag MPA kasi, deprivation of the area kung saan sila mag-fish. So, parang deprivation of the right to fish, of the area where they have to fish. So, yun kasi ang nasa isip nila. So, when we introduce the concept of the MPA, parang, okay. But alam mo naman yung attitude ng tao, hindi lang isang ganun, hindi na, it's not just a snap of a finger na bukas makalawa, okay na. Hindi eh. So, it's a continuous process.
A lot of our marine scientists also are very much happy with that because that's actually their challenge also, how they translate their work into something that is being understood by the community. And that is where we, as a program implementers in RARE and marine scientists in the country work together.
Last naming question, anong nasa isip nyo about MPA? Maganda ba siya o hindi? So sila na mismo nagsabi, mas maigi kung may MPA.
Being a social scientist who also knows marine science and who also happens to freedive, I am expecting to contribute to this expedition by relating to marine protected area workers. And marine science needs to be conveyed in a way that people understand, and so economics comes in there. And freediving is a skill, an inherent skill that they have as people who work in the water all the time.
Okay, so resort there, then the sanctuary came out, then this part of the resort. Women who are the wives of the fishermen members, because it's a fishermen's association.
Yes.
Watch the sanctuary during the day. Well, she doesn't just watch the sanctuary, right?
Yeah, she collects fees as well.
Collects fees.
And I think she also assists with enforcement, no?
Enforces the rules.
At least at shore, in the shore. Even without knowing the community in Siquijor beforehand, they invited me to eat with them. You know, they were there for a day. And some of them in the group knew how to spear fish, so they speared some fish for lunch. They served it to everyone in the group. And when we asked them if we could film them eating, instead of saying yes outright, they said, why don't you come and join us and eat as well? It was really nice to be able to share any moment with them, you know, just like that. So Kapit Sisid is a network of marine conservation groups and freediving groups. So I tried to link the two together because I believe that freediving can be a great tool in marine conservation. It can be used as a skill for tour guides, for reef monitoring, and it can be used as a tool for communication as well. I try to translate marine science into money terms. Money is a language that, let's say, policymakers and local government officials understand. Like Martin, because he had his outfit with parang shades na One of the key principles in Leave No Trace is that you're a visitor in a place that you go to for the first time as a traveler. You have to understand how people move around, what their rules are, what's important to them, what offends them, things like that. Because you're the visitor. For the sea, it's the same thing. We step into the ocean and we use freediving to be able to interact with marine life, but it's still the same concept. We're still visitors. The awareness is the key to having people be more interested in what's my impact. And then eventually, hopefully, that when you start to appreciate it that way, and you're having fun freediving in the water with marine life, you tend to want to protect it.
my personal history is that I was born near a reef, and as a boy, I was swimming in the reef. I saw all of these beautiful creatures there, the large fishes and all those, the sea mammals, the turtles, sea turtles. I've seen this all throughout my life. And so it's not surprising that I dedicated part of my life to really studying them, conserving them, managing them. The concept of marine protected areas, it resulted in increased catches of fish by fishermen. So you put two aspects together, protection and fisheries. Notice that the fishermen are benefited from the protection.
The main idea of Grid Expedition II is that community is key. And community is key for two reasons. First of all, without the community's participation and involvement, the idea of a marine protected area, it just would not work. And the second key concept here that we've taken away is that community is also and should always be the #1 beneficiary of marine protected areas. It is their hard work and their dedication that benefits us all, especially as travelers.
There was a lot of exchange of different viewpoints, but I think it was also a big success and for me a validation of what I believe in, because no matter how differing our viewpoints were, it all boiled down to the same thing. But we all seem to have believed this from the beginning, that it's the communities really that are important. Marine protected areas, the environment, all of that. It's so that people can live well, so that people can be happy.
I still remember Dr. Alcala, he visited us, he visited me. He told me that, Mario, you need to train someone that can look after the place after you. And now this word comes to my mind. And I said to myself, I need to train not only one, but everyone. And the person that I love to train, that I can see better for tomorrow, is the children. The children are the next manager, you like it or not. They are the next leaders that will stand on this land, on this island. So, well, it's not bad to train old ones, but it's better to train the children. They're the next council, the next barangay chairman, or even mayors probably tomorrow from here.
The big challenge really is sustaining the protection of these individual marine protected areas. In the Philippines, we know that that has a higher chance of working if you have the support of local communities, but also the local communities need support from their local governments. And the dispersal study tells us that that may not actually be enough. Individual local governments need to talk to each other to create larger scale marine protected area networks.
I'm trying to campaign for young people to focus their attention on biodiversity in both land and sea, because they are interconnected. And the Philippines is so lucky. We have a rich biodiversity. And so we have to take care of them, because our future depends on them. We need marine biologists and social scientists to do their work on land, to point this out to people. Because our people, in general, do not know.
The 3 scientists we've been traveling with throughout this expedition, they keep on going back to the idea that unless we can communicate with community members, with politicians, with LGU leaders, we can't bring about any change. So they are always constantly thinking about, how do we send this message? How do we make the community a participant in marine conservation?
must endeavor to protect this biodiversity and the environment. I cannot think of an instance when man can stand alone. In fact, man does not stand alone.